in summer of 1963, I came across an announcement in one of the papers that an engineering course is going to start in Malta for the first time. Tom, a very close friend of mine, we started sixth form together. I immediately boarded a bus and went to tell him, Tom, will you be interested in this course? Not knowing exactly what engineering was about, to be honest.
At that time, Malta was in a transition period between serving the British forces and the economy based on industry and tourism. And at the time, a 5-year plan was made by the colonial government in 1961, and it was decided to start this engineering degree. And previously, the only engineers who graduated were at the dockyard, like Manuel. They were sent to England and they had opportunities to study to a degree level. But then the government decided that there would be a Maltese degree, and we were the first in the course.
Yeah, I remember doing past papers for the final exams or second year exam from King's College. We used to have past papers from King's College in England, and we used to work those problems as a revision for the exam paper, the same papers, I think.
Yes, I still remember the most difficult questions in mechanics of machines were from the University of Glasgow. And later I had to go to that university, so...
It was a challenge. Actually, when we studied physics, I always used to wonder how the principles studied in physics could be extrapolated to produce power stations, to produce aeroplanes, to produce telephone exchanges. So, well, the only way to get to know was to join the degree course. When I finished school, I sat for the bank exam and joined the bank, and worked there for 4 years. And whilst I was there, I was studying for my A-levels. And then I got to know that the course was due to start, and I joined the course.
Both our fathers were dockyard employees. So coming from the dockyard background, my father, and I think also his father, whom I used to know as well, both of them were sort of hands-on, people. That is, coming from the dockyard, from an apprenticeship in dockyard. So it might have induced interest in us, okay, in order to follow such a course. I don't say that was what really influenced us, but it might have had a bearing.
Yeah. There's the fact also that I think we were good at mathematics, and that science subjects, biology, chemistry, physics, and basically for an engineering course, that's what you need. So I think we made the best use of the subjects we liked as well. For the people who came before us, that was tough. Yes, they had to go and do their degrees in England. It was a hardship, really. They needed a scholarship. It was really tough for them. So we were lucky that it started in Malta. It gave us the opportunity. We might not even have considered engineering had we go to study abroad.
I think it would have been difficult for me to go abroad because, first of all, I had a strict father, so to speak. I never went abroad before, and I think there were financial constraints. So it would have been difficult to go abroad. So it was a good opportunity that the course started in Malta.
It was an expensive consideration to go and study for a degree abroad. The options were, I think, either to study through correspondence before our course, and then you had to go to sit for the exams in UK, what are called Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 of the IE, Institute of Electrical Engineers. Or else, through the dockyard had a scheme. It was called Equal Opportunity Scheme. That gave the opportunity to the best students at the dockyard school to proceed to study, of course, assisted by the dockyard, by the Admiralty, to study in UK.
We did our course and we reached the standards of British universities, even though the university was just starting.
I don't think that the fact that it was a new course meant that we're going to have a Maltese degree rather than a foreign degree. I don't think it was the case because our course was recognized immediately. As when we graduated, our degree was immediately recognized by British universities. So we felt even better about that, you know.
It was common knowledge in Malta and perhaps even in UK that if you get accepted by the chartered institutes, they say, then it's okay. And we applied for what we used to call graduate membership of these institutions after we finished our courses, and we were accepted straight away without problem. And that, for us, was a gauge to go with, as far as I'm concerned, you know.
No, even when I went to the University of Glasgow a year after finishing the course here, I remember the professor telling me, you obviously have a very good school of engineering in Malta.
Well, actually, I was a bit worried that our degree would not be recognized if we went to work in England, mostly at that time. We didn't go to Europe. So it was important for us to be associated with the British engineering institutions, for example, the Institution of Electrical Engineers in my case. So we sought membership of the Institute of Engineers, as Manuel was saying.
They wanted to encourage us. This was a new course. You know, they wanted to encourage us. And I remember we had 30 Maltese lira, I think it
25.
was. 25, was it? Okay.
25 each year.
Each year, which is the equivalent of 60 euro per annum. So it wasn't big money, but it was something.
This was sponsorship from oil companies. For example, I had the sponsorship came from the BP company. I think yours was from Shell.
I don't remember where mine came from.
It was,
but it came.
But it came in handy as well because we managed to go abroad in between years in order to do the practical part of our course, not in Malta, but in Germany.
Actually, at the university at the time, there were tuition fees, but we were, as an incentive, we were given a scholarship. We were given £75 at the time, a year, and a grant for books.
First 3 months were in Sanglia. I don't know if you're aware of that, but we didn't start attending the courses in Msida immediately. Subsequently, it wasn't a big problem because I think buses from Mosta to Msida were practically every half an hour, I think. So it wasn't a big problem. And there wasn't the traffic that we experience nowadays.
Well, I use the bus too. I even came by bus today.
For me, at least 1 hour, at least. And this was on the bus, of course.
For me, 10 minutes.
My parents couldn't afford a car at the time, you know, so can you imagine us? We never dreamt of having a car.
Obviously.
I could have cycled, actually.
You could have cycled?
Yeah, it was downhill all the way.
But then
the
you have to
problem
go
is
uphill.
the way back was uphill.
The lab facilities were first class. It is very simple though, because we were the first to use these labs. They were brand new. In all the labs, whether it is electrical, civil, mechanical, they were all brand new. And of course, there were no teething troubles, that is, the lecturers and the technicians there were very well versed with the equipment. So we're in fact very happy whenever we went to the labs because it was so interesting that you feel you're doing something now in engineering more hands-on.
The lab facilities were excellent. The only problem was they were not available on day one. So we had to sort of compress our lab work towards the end of the first year. And even the second and third years, equipment used to arrive as we were, getting into the year.
The library was another thing. I mean, the library was started at that time. So, we could borrow a few books, but nowhere near the library of the university today, I mean. But it was adequate. We managed.
Library facilities were not so great, but towards the end of the course, I remember somebody from America donated a library to the college.
All our lecturers were external and visiting because they were seconded to UNESCO. I mean, these lecturers normally would have been somewhere else, in Commonwealth country, probably. And these were seconded because in those days there were no lecturers in Malta to lecture any engineering subjects except for one subject, which was mathematics. That was the subject where we always had a local Maltese lecturer.
I didn't have a favorite lecturer, but my favorite subject was definitely electronics. As I was enthusiastic in radio, electronics was my best subject. And even up to now, I'm still interested in it.
Well, each subject had a charm of its own. So the most spectacular subject was the fluids, because then even the lab work was interesting.
Explain it.
Well, there are a lot of wells and canals and all sorts of things, and so it was different.
What fascinated you about it?
Oh, it was the size of the experiments and of the equipment and what was done with fluids. I liked all the subject actually, but that had a character of its own. Well, fluids, you get the water flowing in canals and over wells and all those things, so it's something moving. In electronics, everything is usually static, whilst in fluids, everything is moving. So, I mean, it has its own charm.
Between us, one of us had a word which he used a lot, so it became his nickname actually.
But that was a fellow student.
Fellow student.
A fellow student, he always called everybody our scout. It came natural to him, okay? So eventually his nickname became Le Scout. And until today we call him Le Scout. Incidentally, he's the one who is in Canada.
About the lecturers, I don't recall
much nicknames.
Nicknames, because they all had particular names, and to us, that was like, in itself, was identifiable with the person. We didn't have to.
Yes, you're right.
It wasn't a nickname really, because in the end we were calling each other Scout, so it was more a pet name rather than a nickname. Even maybe nowadays we call each other like that sometimes, but we didn't have nicknames, no, when I was at university.
As far as I'm concerned, I think electronics maybe was my favorite, and my favorite lecturer was someone called John Myers.
In my case, my favorite subject was always mathematics, but the favorite lecturer was the same one which Tom mentioned, Mr. Myers. He was very affable, towards students, so it was sort of impossible not to like him.
We were a bit isolated from the rest of the university, and psychologically we were also perhaps isolated from the other students at the college, because physically we were separate from the university. I mean, the university was still in Valletta at that time, and they were building the campus.
You used to come
here
to walk up here
exactly.
to see the progress of the building. We used to walk up here.
The university was still
not
at
by
the
car, I walk it.
And at the Polytechnic, we called it at that time, the other courses were very different from ours. I remember there was business, and there was catering.
Some diploma courses.
Well, we had little contact with the university students because spatially we were in a different location.
We had no contact, not little contact, no contact at all, because the other students were in Valletta.
The students at the MCAST, or the Polytechnic, viewed us as the top people. The students at university, I think, which was separate and it was at Valletta, sort of looked down on us. I think we were something foreign. We didn't go much to the university club. We weren't involved in university activities. So I think we were, as Antoine was saying, isolated from the rest of the university.
Yeah.
the slide rule was the latest technological tool we had in our hands. I wouldn't say it was enjoyable because it had a fixed part and a sliding part, all filled with numbers and graduations. And you really had to line things up. It wasn't easy, but it was a good tool to have. It was the best we had. So this slide rule, together with the logarithmic tables, who probably they don't even know what they are, these tables with figures, that's what we used for our studies.
No, I must say I liked using the slide rule. In fact, I have two still on my desk. I would have brought them if I thought we were talking about the subject. The reason being because I liked maths, and they were a tool that helped you a lot in mathematics and even in other calculations of other subjects. Of course, once it was superseded by the calculator was an easier tool, and this slide rule died a natural death.
This is the slide rule. It's a non-analog device. We used it to make calculations because we didn't have calculators at the time. It was pretty accurate, but you have to be careful with the decimal point, unfortunately. And it was easy to make mistakes, you know. You get the number multiplied or divided by 10. But we used it quite a lot. I don't remember exactly the exact date when I started using it. I don't know if it was in sixth form or when I started the university course. But definitely, we used it a lot, and it was the only way we could calculate efficiently at that time.
It is different from calculators or computers. You can work up to 3 decimal places, and you have to find where the decimal point is. It's not like a calculator, it gives you the answer straight away. And you can't do addition or subtraction. You can only do multiplications, powers, etc. But we managed to get our degree, and it's accurate enough for it.
It was useful, but it was not enjoyable. I remember in thermodynamics, you have to do things like to the power of 1 minus gamma over gamma. That was not very.
Remember it.
That was not very enjoyable.
Well, we studied transistors in our course, but as far as I can remember, I have never seen one. It was much later that we managed to get hold of one.
Well, I remember at the bank we had mechanical adding machines. So we used to punch in the numbers, and then there was a lever, which was used to put the number into the calculation. But all it could do was addition. And then I remember in the foreign exchange section, they had a complicated machine with a lever and the rotary part of it, which could do some form of multiplication. Well, but that was all that was available in Malta. In foreign countries, in the big companies or very big universities, they had these jumbo computers. But they were very, very limited in their scope, even then. And they were very bulky and extremely expensive. But that was all that was available at the time.
So back then in Malta, there was no computers?
I think it was around about in the 1970s that we first saw the BBC and Amiga personal computers. I don't even know about them. I have one. It's in the loft there. We had a craze, you know, everybody buying these PCs, but you had to program them with the cassettes. They were very, very cumbersome, not like today, where the computer has invaded everything.
I went to Glasgow 2 years later. They had a room as big as this, with computers, I mean, each the size of a washing machine. I went to Harwell also as part of the course. The same, they had a big hall. Harwell, the Atomic Energy Authority in the UK, they had a big hall full of these types of computers. But what I remember is we had a lecture one day at Harwell, and they were explaining to us Fortran. The language at that time was Fortran. And they were explaining to us how they do designs, and then they run them in this computer. They had this software, and they run this software. My thesis took me, at the university in Glasgow, took me 6 months. When I look at the thesis now, if I had an ordinary PC, I would have finished it in a week.
When the fully digital exchanges came to Malta, it was almost a prototype. There were only a few exchanges working in France, and they had introduced some in Poland as well. So we had the teething troubles of a new technology, actually, when it all started. Those were the French E10 Alcatel. And eventually, when Malta became fully digitized, it was the first country in the world where the whole network was fully digitized. Obviously, we could do it because of our size. But actually, we were called upon to explain of what we did within the ITU, at ITU meetings, and Malta was declared the role model for digitization.
Actually, academic study I didn't do after graduation. However, during my first job, I was sent on a year's scholarship to UK through the British Council. And this scholarship was more concerning telephony, the switching aspect and the external plant aspect of telephony. I spent 1 year in UK visiting not just, in those days it was the post office, not British Telecoms. Anyway, having courses in the school, which was the post office school anyway. And then engaging in industry in order to get experience in what was going on in telecommunications in those days. Of course, in order to bring that experience back home.
Regarding further studies, I did not follow any other academic courses, except I came to the point where I had to decide whether I should do higher studies or not. I spent 8 years a lecturer in the University of Malta, and the external examiner then, as a lecturer, he advised me that I should go for higher studies. So I came at a moment in life where I either had to go for further studies or go somewhere else. And I decided to go into business at that moment. So, but in life, there is the University of Life as well, which teaches you a lot of things. So the academic studies are important. But from an engineering point of view, we study a lot about technology and so on, but we were never really prepared for real life, management skills, things, financial skills. We never had them. So we had to learn those through the life experience, the hard way,
I followed some courses during the final year of engineering. It used to be called Diploma in Industrial Administration. I used to do it in the evening, and after graduation for a whole year, also in the evening. And then about 12 years ago, when I was 58, I enrolled at the university again, and I read history and archaeology. But that's something which I really always was eager to do, and I satisfied my request, my ambition.
I joined in Malta. At that time, it was the Malta Electricity Board. I was assigned to the distillation plant at the time, and it gave me the opportunity to look around the plant because it was integrated with the electricity generation. I remember doing a lot of performance tests, which were really what I liked to do at that time. After that, I went to Glasgow, as I was saying. When I came back, I spent some more time at the electricity board, and then I was asked by the Office of the Prime Minister to join them to introduce further desalination plants, the reverse osmosis plants. After that, I moved on to Waterworks at that time, and we changed it gradually to the Water Service Corporation of today. Then I joined the Malta Resources Authority, and did my career at the Malta Resources Authority.
My first job was with the then telephones department in Malta. It was post and telephones, as there was in UK. Malta followed the UK. I entered as a graduate engineer, a young engineer, and after the 1 year course I did in UK, when I came back, I was responsible for all the external network of Malta. The external, all of it. In those days, we were very few engineers. So, although I was only 22, 23 years old, I had great responsibility. But you learn through this responsibility, as in fact my colleague Tom was just saying. And that is how you build up your leadership and management skills. Because engineering on its own depends in which field you go. You need management and leadership skills. And these are built gradually when you're thrown in the field.
Our company was always involved in introducing the new technologies as they came along, and especially being in the health sector, these are used to make the life of people and their health better. So it really gives a good satisfaction. So, for example, in Malta, if it was radiology, X-rays, we were involved in introducing the first generators, high-frequency generators, and then the digital radiography, which we have today. So being involved in all that, we were involved in the first automation of pathology laboratories. That's blood, taking blood samples, whereas before it was done by somebody on a microscope manually. Today you have automated machines that take the blood sample and give you a result with so many different parameters, so nothing is handled by hand again, Remember introducing the first ophthalmic lasers to operate the eye. We were there, and it's great. And the latest one we have on our hands now is the new oncology hospital, where we are introducing linear accelerators. This is for the treatment of cancer. But today those machines are so precise and powerful that you can use higher dosages to get treatment. But the radiation can be focused so well that you literally can destroy the cells you want to with little collateral damage, So this is all the technology that happened, and I was happy to be involved in the modernization, really, of the health system in Malta.
Today, they've got better facilities, better possibilities, but I think there is more competition. And I think there's more peer pressure as well. I'm not sure if we were better off then or if they are better off now. I cannot say. I think it's got pros and cons.
Yeah, engineering then and now, it's changed a lot. The whole world has changed. I mean, it's become sophisticated specializations, which we didn't have in our time. I think in our education, we had a rather broad engineering education, which also meant that if we wanted to change jobs, if a job wasn't working out, you needed to change. Then it was easier, because we had a broad background, so we could shift and learn new things. Today, I think it's very specialized, but that's how the world is today. I mean, that's how it is. As a word of advice or to new graduates, I mean, first of all, engineering, Victor mentioned this earlier, engineering is in the service of mankind. Whatever you're doing is to make the environment better, to make living better. So it's really a good profession to have. It gives a lot of satisfaction, a lot of challenges, but that's what you're trained for in engineering, to provide solutions, That's what it's all about. So if you like that challenge, you can look forward to a lot of satisfaction in an engineering career.
I say graduation is like when you go to the cinema. I don't know, go to the cinema is not popular, but when we were young, it was common. You buy the ticket, you enter the cinema, And then you would do like, you can sleep, you can talk to your friend or girlfriend, eat popcorn, what you like, watch the film, understand it. But you need the ticket to enter. Now to enter in the profession, field of engineering, you need to do the course, graduation. That's just buying the ticket. Then what you do inside, it's up to the individual.
I got a lot of satisfaction from my career, and I recommend it to prospective students, and I wish them success. If they've got an inclination, go for it. I think it's a rewarding and successful study and enjoyable career.
I think engineering has taken off